I consider this seminar very important and timely, especially the subject we are reflecting on, strengthening Christian advocacy towards peace and security during elections. We will be having election next year, but the timing for this workshop suggests that as a church, we want to start early enough getting our presbytery directors ready so that the presbytery directors can also get our various presbyteries, districts, and even congregations ready so that we'll have enough time. And that is why I said the timing is very, very important, and we congratulate the organizers for that sense of discernment, that let's move ahead of time and be very relevant. I have a book that will be coming out likely next month, and there's a chapter on this. But I have another book here on Christian advocacy. I wasn't sure about the number, but I'm told it's 50, and this I will be able to give each one a copy for free. So we will look for the additional numbers. I thought we were meeting only the presbytery directors, but I've been told we are about close to 50 people. So this, later on, you have copies. But try and pick some thoughts from what I'm going to do. Specifically here, today I may not have notes for you, but by next month, there will be a 300-page book that will be out there, and everything I will be saying here will be found in that book. The next slide, please. Now, under the Fourth Republic of this country, the past 30 years, we have had 8 successful elections: 92, 96, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020. And the elections have been dominated, even though we have several political parties. Elections in Ghana, the past 30 years, have been dominated by NDC and NPP. The past 30 years, elections, we have had 5 presidents. You know, Rawlings, Kufuor, President Tamils, President Mahama, Nana-Addo. Now, we can say that we've done well as a country the past 30 years, but the peace, democracy, and peaceful elections have remained very weak, fragile. Even though we have done well, the transitions, in fact, we have instances where NDC in power has transferred power to MPP in opposition, transferring power to NDC. We've done that. Some countries have not been able to do that. Yet, there are tensions. And there's a strong, if you talk to many Ghanaians, there's a strong desire for sustainable peace, strong democracy, strong institution, and development. There are those who want to get development, bread and butter issues out of our democracy, that elections should be more than waking up early in the morning, queuing to vote, I get nothing. So that sentiment is strong among Ghanaians. And there are what we call common drivers of electoral conflicts. And it's not what I'm about to share with you. It's not only Ghanaian problem, it's African problem. As he mentioned, I lead a Christian organization in Africa. And we do a lot of studies. We do election monitoring in other African countries. We do studies, research. It's a team of pastors and university lecturers. And what I'm about to share with you is true in Ghana, but it's true also in several African countries. The triggers, the common drivers are cheating, violence, ethnocentrism, and dictatorship of the majority. But let me explain. Cheating in elections start with registration of electorates. And therefore, if you want to be part of the electoral process, you don't wait till we are about to vote, because the cheating starts here, registration of electorates. And the problem of registering minors and over bloating the register in areas which are considered as strongholds of political parties. In this country, both MPP and NDC, they are all guilty. When you hear them shouting, it means they are becoming threatened. For instance, if you find MPP shouting that go to voter region, how they are registering minors, the very thing they are complaining in voter region, they are doing the same thing in Ashanti region. But then if they realize that the other is Tifman, Tifman, if they realize that the other one is thieving more, then they start shouting. But whatever you hear, the other one is shouting, complaining, they are doing the same thing in their stronghold. All of them try to register minors in their strongholds. And cheating occurs at the polling stations over voting and preventing those considered as opponents from voting. They all do that. NDC will want to stop MPP people in voter region from voting, and the same MPP people will want to stop NDC people voting in their stronghold, and they frustrate them. What I'm saying, the 2020 election, and I have 2-3 who were part of it, the Electoral Commission gave us accreditation, the Alliance for Christian Advocacy, and we put 100 pastors together from different churches, and we were tasked to monitor the elections in 8 regions. And these are all outcomes. So I'm not speculating. These are work we have done. Our report was hailed by the EC, Inspector General of Police, and some diplomacy units and all that. So you realize that when you hear some village in voter region, NDC people are shouting over there, it means they know that they are blocking us. But why they are crying, they are also blocking some people, Ketusaf, they are also blocking people from voting. Snatching of ballot boxes. The recent Nigeria election, it was just a sad thing that people snatch ballot boxes. And then cheating occurred during coalition of resource, where words and figures don't match. They change figures just like that. So this is how in our election, it's not Ghanaian, like I said, African, other countries, they all do this kind of tricks. And if you are involved, you must understand the game. Violence in Ghanaian politics is both intra and inter. And again, it's good we're having this workshop now, because the primaries, NDC will be voting in May for MPs and a presidential candidate. MPP is yet to fix the date. And within NDC, terrible things are happening. Within MPP, terrible. You may remember that focus story where even some people threw acid within MPP. And they cause all kinds of trouble. So you have inter and intra. And violence occurs in the form of insult and abusive language. This is on FM station, and you hear that all over. Some words we can't repeat here. And so there are a lot of insults in political discourse. Now, violence occurs in the form of loss of property and physical torture. The last election, 8 people died. 2020, like 8 people died. Some died somewhere in Brahafo. We were there. Even during the registration, I think 28-year-old young man, and the only son of the mother. Registration, we have not even come to the point of voting. A teacher somewhere in voter region, Brahafo, was killed. Let's go back a bit. So let's have that in mind, that people who suffer either loss of property or lose their lives, some of them are our members. Don't take that to be it's a remote thing. Some of those who suffer their properties and their lives, keep it in mind that some are our own Christians and Presbyterians. Let's move on. Let's move on. There is a spiritual dimension to violence, where people curse political opponents and call on deities and river gods to kill their opponent. And you find some who will go to a shrine, river somewhere with eggs, nana will be on a kunuma yen. Have you seen those things before? It's another form of violence. That spiritual side of violence. And we do that. And then post-election violence, I'll come back to this. That what sustains vigilantism in politics, because it is when other people feel that the state agencies will not be on their side that they mobilize vigilante groups just to fight for them. But vigilantes also is another challenge. Ethnocentrism. Now, the two main political parties play the ethnic card by employing ethnic groups where their candidates come from to vote based on their tribal lineages. It's all over. You know, you are this. The Muslims will talk about Ummah. We are brothers. So a Muslim, vote for a Muslim. And sometimes you hear Christian, vote for Christian. You are Ashanti, vote for Ashanti. You are this Fulani, vote for Fulani. You are this, that kind of thing. So you have it. Some politicians make derogatory remarks about particular ethnic groups. You may know some of these people coming from, the West Achim area, who will stand up and all these people are this. You remember that man? You don't know him. Your faces suggest that you don't know what I'm talking about. But all these people are this, all that people are that, members of parliament, and they talk like that. You don't talk to people. If you've met one or two people from a particular tribe and you are not happy, you don't box all of us together as if people from this area are that, this group are that. But we still have. Get ready. We are going to hear more very soon. And so people vote on ethnic lines, even if there are other better candidates, because it's our countryman, we will vote for him or her and that kind of thing. That's how ethnocentrism functions in elections. But let me spend some time with you here. This is a challenge confronting us and confronting almost every African country. We've spent time studying this, and this is what is threatening democracy in Africa. And anybody who is the project, peace project, you must appreciate this challenge and find out how you can function within this. We call it dictatorship of the majority. Others will say that the minority will have their say, majority will have their way. You've heard that before. That is what we call the dictatorship of the majority. And this is how it functions. It's a manipulation of constitutions. Not that we don't have constitution, but the manipulation. And the manipulation involves security agencies, where even the police, military, are under some form of manipulation by the dominant political party in government, judiciary. And so there are people who feel that when they have electoral challenges, the best place to go should not be the courts. Because when you go there, you won't get anything. And so after elections, if you want to do anything, then mobilize people, go out there on the street. Choboi. Now, this is something everybody is praying for Nigeria at the moment, that they would rather use the court. But you realize that there are those now who think that even if you go to court, you get nothing. And when we get there, that's where violence, you can't stop it. When people lose confidence and trust in state institutions because there's a form of manipulation. Electoral laws, sometimes media, and electoral results can be manipulated. And another challenge we are observing is the second point. Terms of office in some African countries have been abused over the years due to the fact that the majority in government supported it. You go to some countries, it's 4-4. Ghana, 4-4. Break the 8 thing they are talking about. Some 5-5. But if they have majority in parliament, they can manipulate constitutions and the police and the electoral system. Now, let me give you some examples. I hope they are clear enough. You go to Equatorial Guinea, and the president who should have been in office for 8 years stayed in office for 36 years because he had the majority on his side. So close the election, then they change the constitution and give him extension. Close another election, they give him extension. You understand? Whatever he sent to parliament will be endorsed. Angola, we are always, they've been able to have election, but Dos Santos was in office for 36 years. He shouldn't have been in office more than 10 years. 36. He was even grooming his daughter to take over from him. Cameroon, he's still there. Pobia, you know. He's gone beyond 33 years. And he's still there. He's still counting. Uganda. Now his son is the topmost military officer. He's not afraid of anybody. Museveni has been in office more than 30 years. He shouldn't have gone beyond 8 years. Uganda. This man is dead and gone. But Mugabe had 28 years in Zimbabwe instead of 8. Chad, 25 years. Sudan, 22. Algeria, 20. Gambia, 19 years. DR Congo, 18. In fact, our own Togo, you know the guy is still there. He took over from his father. Now, you may think, but that is not Ghana. We nearly reached here. Until the 2020 elections where we had the current hung parliament, you realize that anything that moved from the presidency, the executive, to parliament was endorsed, was accepted. Some even less than 48 hours. Are you aware of that? It's the 2020 elections that gave us the hung parliament, and now is becoming tough for the party in government to move in so many things. Now they have vetted some ministers. More than 2 weeks. They have not even been able to table the report on the floor of parliament. Previously, who bondok? You understand what I'm talking about? That you've done vetting of ministers, trade, and industry more than 2 weeks. And they've not been able to even present a report because now the minority group will not accept the report, and therefore you can't move. You see, and it's because of the hung parliament. So these are the things we are talking about. And it is with us. And these are the areas we must open our eyes. Now there's a CI in parliament. You know, that the CI is not saying that we'll use Ghana card to vote. So use it to register. So you still have your voter ID. But instead either a passport or you register with guarantee. The previous system, you could register with guarantors. Then we had contractors. If you don't have passport, you don't have anything, you can look for somebody in the neighborhood to go and guarantee. And now that became business. One person could guarantee for 20. And that is what the EC is trying to avoid. And you realize it's not been easy. If it had been the previous thing, either MPP dominating our parliament, they wouldn't have called the EC chairperson to parliament and all that. Would have finished, you see. So it's only the 2020 elections that has changed something for us. But we were close to dictatorship of the majority. Many of the loans that we are struggling with were pushed through because the minority will have their say, majority will have their way. And if you are interested in matters of peace, keep your eye on such areas. Now, the concern of the churches, and not only in Ghana, in Africa, when it comes to election, one is how do we create awareness among the electorates on the consequences, dangers of violence in our electoral processes and avoid electoral violence. How do we do it? Because it affects the economy, it affects lives, young people, and it affects us, church also. Election is about leadership identification. There should not be destruction of lives and properties in the process. You are becoming president. Why should somebody's son, daughter die for you to become president or member of parliament? You see? How do we get Christians to bring their faith values and Christian principles into public service? Esedun Ketia is a Presbyterian. I hope you know that. You know or you don't know? He's been a presbyter before. Sekwa. And Ofosuampofu is an elder, Church of Pentecost. You know that. Dan Boche is a good Presbyterian. You know that. Now, if we are having elections full of elders, presbyters, and why should we be worried? Where is our Christian faith? Many of MPs and Nanado is rich, Accra rich, when you Accra, Chebi Presbyterian. I hope you know that. President Mahama is Assemblies of God. You know that. How come that we are having elections involving these people? And it's like Ghana is about to break. You feel the tension. You know where is our Christian values? The Electoral Commission, current one, is a Christian. Charlotte, Christian. If we have Christians supervising elections, why should we be so afraid? And the more we go through what we go through during the election, the feeling, fear, that people hide water, they withdraw money. Those who have money, the 2020 election, I had some big bank person. He sent his wife and children to US. He didn't vote. And close to election, he told me that he was going. After the election, when things calm down, then he will come. We are having an election. Why should you are running away? But you are the people funding them. So those of us who don't have money to run away, we will stay. But we're Christian values, and we must be worried with our 71% Christian population, and close to elections like we are in a community of unbelievers. Christians who hold political and other public offices must portray Christ in these areas, and we are not getting it. Another major concern, how do we get institutions of state like the police, electoral commission, judiciary, to be professional, rather than they are being tilted towards certain interest parties. The concern of having all people and political parties to be treated equally under the laws governing elections is a struggle. Remember, the topic is strengthening our advocacy. So we must know where the weaknesses are so that we know what we are going to strengthen. How do we get our elections to shift focus and attention from violence? Now from here, we hope you will also go and run series of workshops for your presbytery, ESR, and district and other. Now this is where the concentration should be. Is it possible for us to have elections without bloodshed, violence, insult, cursing, and let the contest be a contest of ideas? Who is ready to serve the constituency, serve this nation better? We need a shift of focus, and that is where the various advocacy bodies, churches must make intervention, because there's a real need for a paradigm shift. Something is not right when we are close to election in this country, and we need to respond to that. Again, democracy must contribute to national development. Democracy must bring education, quality education, good health, road, employment, prosperity, wealth creation. How do we get our election to concentrate on bread and butter issues, issues about the common good, rather than who is from our area, who is this and who is that, and therefore why we should not vote for this person because he's not our countryman and that kind of thing. We have a lot of work to do in that area, because it seems democracy is not serving us well as far as matters of bread and butter, development, quality life issues are concerned. Now, let me tell you, so far, what the contribution of the churches have been. But still keep in mind that these are the things we want to strengthen. The church has remained as institution of calm. And if you are ESR director, you must understand this. Now, I'll explain how that should function. The church in this country and in the African continent, we have functioned as institution of calm and advocacy. I'll explain. Then public education and sensitization, media management, organization of eminent personalities for intervention, mediation, and reconciliation, participation in the electoral process with electoral commission, provision of Christian ministry and spiritual support. But let me pick them one by one. Can I move on? The institution of calm, the church's role as institution of calm, functions in this way. So let's move on. Networking among ecumenical partners. So Christian Council of Ghana, Ghana Catholic Bishop Conference, and GPCC. Over the years, we have done that on the national level. I have coordinated heads of churches before on this. What we have not been able to do, and if you are the regional heads for your churches, is how do we bring networking at the national level to the regional levels? We don't do very well in that area. Moderator, presiding bishop, bishops, and others come together, Catholic, GPCC, Christian Council, and they do a lot of intervention, calling for calm. But at the regional, not to even mention district level, the churches are not strong. And there's a missing link there. And this is where we will need people like you heading the regions to begin to identify specific roles that you can play. I'm not saying we do nothing. I'm saying we must strengthen. Cooperation among religious bodies. Now, please get this. There's a difference between ecumenical bodies and religious bodies. You know the two are not the same. When you talk about ecumenical bodies, it means everybody is a Christian, but Christian with different manifestation. So if I bring Catholic, charismatics, blah, blah, together, that is ecumenical body. But if I bring another body that involves Muslims, if I go outside the Christian faith and I bring, then it's either you call it faith-based organization or religious body. So when you are talking about ecumenical body, what do you do? Call yourself so, only when you are dealing with Christians. But Christians can be SDA, even Jehovah's Witness. But if you are dealing with other people, then it's not ecumenical body. It's faith-based. Everybody has his or her faith base or religious body. Now, we do that in this country where, again, CC, Christian Council, Ghana Catholic Bishop Conference, Office of the National Chief Imam, Ahmadiyya Movement, also we move. So that's another layer. The first layer is the ecumenical bodies. We move. When you are in your ecumenical relations, like you are building your walls. When you are into faith-based organization, you are building your bridges. I hope you're okay. And we need all. Learn to do all. Don't feel so uncomfortable being with, say, chiefs, Muslims, whatever, but always protect your uniqueness. 2016 election, Denmark ambassador gave us money, Christian, Muslim, and we were playing football, we're in Tamale, Christian, Muslim doing things together. But there are other things we insisted we do that only as Christians, and others will do with us. So keep that in mind. In a communicable relation, you build your walls, you build your bridges. Now, these partnerships are aimed at presenting a united religious front in matters of national interest for the good of the citizens. When I do that, there's only one thing, that we need the common good. When I work with Muslims, we just want Ghana to be peaceful, the common good. And so they present communique on political and social issues that we talk to all of them. Christian, Muslim, your leaders are talking, listen. You know, if you're a Muslim, you see the chief imam. If you're a Christian, if you're a Catholic, you see your bishops. Let's move on. So, and then they do collective engagement. We meet the Electoral Commission, we meet the IGP, we meet all of them. We need the parties. So, when you are doing collective engagement, you don't go only as Presbyterian or Methodist. You mobilize yourself, strong force, move and meet, say, President Mahama or Nana Akufo-Addo or the chairperson of Electoral Commission, and they open their eyes, and everybody, and sometimes even traditional leaders, you know, it gives us the force we need to negotiate. You remember 2020, our church also put a high-profile people together in the name of Peace Ambassador. I believe this project is what has brought us here. And that also worked very well. My concern only here is that it's like we were a bit late. The peace ambassadors came in close to elections. I interviewed some of them. I hosted a TV program, What is Next, on GTV live program, and I hosted Professor Adwoben, one of the peace ambassadors. By the time they were ready to move, we were close to elections. Our dear brother, if we would do peace ambassadors 2024, then maybe let's start identifying them now, bringing them together, building the capacity, helping them to know other things that we can do so that they can be more visible and have bigger impact. I hope you understand what I'm saying. But that was one unique contribution. In fact, we became more or less the church, as at that time in Ghana. I believe moving for other churches will follow us. But that became our unique contribution. My only concern has something to do with the timing. Let's move on. Public education. The churches do awareness. We prepare materials, and our brother, either Christian Council will prepare the material, you will use it. Or you can also task some people to prepare your own electoral material. If you want to use me as your consultant, I can do that for a little fee, you know. Because all those things we are doing for other Christian council in other countries. So it will not take me any additional effort to prepare the materials, you know. And the capacity building workshops, that's what we are doing. But it should not be here alone. You do it at the national level like this, but do it, people should understand. And it must be a comfortable platform to work on. There are people who feel that, you see, they don't see this kind of things as part of our ministries. So quickly, you bring them together and let them feel comfortable that when they are doing this kind of ministry, they are also serving the national needs, the common good of our country. Media engagement. Yes, the moderators and the others who do the national level. But in the communities, now you have the community radios. So if I have a district minister who understands this presbytery, people like you, I can use the community radio, that kind of thing we can do. Meeting EC and others, leave that for the big people. But at the regional level, district level, community level, we can use, Asafo, I think after this call, I will plead with you that you do subsequent calls outside. You are my friend. You know you are my friend. But normally when I'm teaching in class, a single call attract 5 cedis. Then we use it to buy tom-tom. So moving forward, if you pick a call, you pay 5 cedis. You buy tom-tom, we share. But if you know you won't pay, then either you pick your calls outside or you put your phone on silent. This one is peace project, correct? So what I'm saying is, when we talk about media engagement, we should not create impression that there must be some superstar somewhere. Now we have community radios almost every village, every town. If we understand the issues, you don't need to be complex. Just call for peace. Being, just calm. That kind of thing you can do. Well, district ministers can do. YPG people can do. I'm happy we have some young people among us. Can't you gather YPG? Are you YPG or YAF? You can't be YAF. Yeah. Can't you, YPG? Can't you bring some YPG people together that the old people, they have their turn and their time. Why should I die for them? Why should me also, my future will come? Don't die for them. Can't you say that kind of thing? You can't. When you do that, you are becoming an agent of calm. And that one, you can do it on social media, right? Design your own program. Get some camera people, design something that attracts young people. We need our life. We have a future. We won't destroy ourselves. We won't let them create problem for us to solve tomorrow. Statements short like that. Our elders, don't create problem for us to solve tomorrow. Can't you say this? They will beat you. This is what we are calling youth-friendly messages. In our campuses, short like they do. TikTok messages all over. That's what we mean. So don't take media engagement to be where you need some superstars. Then issuance of pastoral letter, here is only the moderator that can do that. Communicates. Maybe Presbytery Conference will want to. Press releases to our big people. And like I said, our young people, target the young people because they suffer most. They suffer. They put them in buses and poor people and give them sometimes 20 cedis and fried rice. I'm telling you, you conduct your own interview, what they get. But they come back with slaps. Some are mean. Let's protect our youth. And at least let us run, let's run specific programs targeting the young people. Protect them. Posters, banners, billboards, flyers, T-shirts, these are things we all do. And then I happen to be a member of this for the 2020 election. Samate was also a member. YC put eminent people together to advise all of them. But there's another level of organization of eminent personality also. Christian Council has been doing that. That will put, and we do that together with others, including Menshia, put people together and find that they sign peace accord in public, Rawlings and all those things. Previously, we've done it. Whether it worked well or not is another thing. So there's a way you bring traditional leaders, Muslim statement, to play advisory role to the extent that even they commit the presidential candidate to sign peace accord. That will become reference document moving forward. And such interventions, I want to believe, have quenched problems. Presidential candidates are made to sign. We need to. But another area we need to consider that churches engage the Electoral Commission. And church leaders, in fact, like I said, we were given accreditation, official accreditation, to monitor the election. I see one or two people here who were part of it, right? Okay, let's move on. I have been a member of IPAC. IPAC is Inter-Party Advisory Committee. That's where they fight, NDC, MPP, all of them. They fight. When you go to that meeting, and they all tell you, I go to church. Kabila is SDA. And you go, American ambassador is there, High Commission UK is there, all of them. No, we have problem. All of them know, MPP and this, that I'm in the room with them, IPAC. And churches must be interested in things like that, in the Inter-Party Advisory Committee. We must be in. The people there are our members. And so churches must also be encouraged. Now, this is another unique role that our chairs, table, sometimes during the election, long queue. Church, if you have plastic chairs, tables, canopy, you can just arrange with the district or that we will bring our item. That is our contribution. Beyond prayer. Pray, correct. But bring your chairs, your canopies, any other item to support the process. Then we collaborate, beloved. The bishop of this presbytery is with us. Presbytery moderator, you are welcome. We are happy to have you here. You see how we miss you. Woman in TM, she and say, hey, Asante Fuoma Jiana Manye. But now that you are here, we feel welcome. Please have your seat. Okay. Papa, we are reflecting on strengthening our advocacy during elections. So, we are talking about collaboration with state institutions. And the churches have done that, Institute of Economic Affairs, Institute of, Democratic Governance, National Peace Council. We have National Peace Council at the regional and district levels. So you can also collaborate with them. And after this workshop, look for those at the regional levels who are your National Peace Council and those you can work with. Sometimes you should not go, even if you want to die, don't die alone. Die with other people. And the Account Proverbs says, so instead of look for people who share similar, they move. Look for Methodist people, Catholic bishop, traditional leaders, Muslim leaders, and move together when you are facing challenges at the regional, district, even local level. Now, the churches over the years have also operated here provision of Christian ministry and spiritual support. And this must be important. Election is just a process of seeking God's will for the nation. We have elections in the Bible. This is how we must understand it. It's not MPP, NDC affair. Every election is about the future. It is like singing, guide me, O thou great Jehovah. Election is a spiritual exercise. Let us make it so. But I'm not calling for what some of our friends, some pastors, prophets are doing, who will win and who will lose. That is not our mandate. If this person does not win, I will burn my child. No. Because the process is such that the discernment will come out of the election, our role is to facilitate the process. We should not take over and start telling people who will be the president and who will lose and who will win and who people should vote for and who we should not vote for. Facilitate that spiritual journey with the people. And we do that with our prayer meetings, with ordinary Ghanaians, our politicians. Keep in mind, we are seeking God's will. Prayer and fasting, national prayer meetings. We don't only need it at the national level. My time is up. Thank you. We need it also regional. And let's use our pulpit to discuss matters of tolerance, forgiveness, seeking direction. And let people know that in election you can win or lose. Let's move on. Now, this is the challenge. So now the strengthening bit is here. For many people, election is winning at all costs. Election as do and die. This is a weak link that we must address. We must start raising our voices that this should not be that you are going to election and you will win at all costs. It's wrong. Those who do that don't understand democracy. They are not Democrat. We need Democrats to practice democracy. This is where the violence begins. People who think that I must win at all costs. Election is a game that has winners and losers. Develop posters, billboards, and quickly let people in your church know that in election you can win or you will lose. Psych yourself, psych your mother, psych your people that you can win, you can also lose. And when you are praying for them, pray that the Lord's will be done. Not that my church member must win. God will win you. Anyhow. So contestants must accept to use the legal provisions to address electoral disputes. Not mobilizing people for the streets. Let's go. Then monetization, money is taking over merit. Raise your voices quickly. Now, primaries, delegates. Some people almost see beboso. Almost decides carrying a beboso. So they don't care. Delegates are going for money. Let us preach, start preaching, and start teaching. Like I said, we need a shift of focus. Leadership is service. Bring people to this. You want to be my MP, assemblyman, president. It is service, not personal comfort. We are losing the battle here. So now there are young people straight from the university, before even they find a wife, they are into politics. They don't have the experience. As for the wives, they get them easily because let's come on board quickly. Inducement is a problem. And that is why when some sell their houses, some take loans. That is why election has become do and die, or all die be die. And we should not sit down. And some of our church members are becoming partisan. So partisan. You go to church and some pastors are guilty. I've seen that even in Kumasi here. And ya two we not so full. Sorry. Don't you know some of your church members have also lost and they are crying? They came to church for you to comfort them, only to see you in white. Please monitor the partisanship emerging in our churches. Make the church a welcoming place for everybody. NDC must feel welcome. MPP must feel welcome. Be a father figure. We are losing that, especially our friends on the other side, Prophet so-and-so, Prophet so-and-so. When I go to church, I don't go there because it's NDC church or MPP church. I go to church because I am in the house of God, fellowship of believers. We are losing that in this country at the moment. Let's move on. Now, the challenge is lack of capacity of church leaders. Some of our people want to come in, but they don't know how to do it. They feel they are not ready. Please help them. Some also coming recently. I've heard a minister, I think a Methodist minister, who had preached a sermon talking about who he voted for, and I felt you shouldn't have gone to that extent. You want to play the game, at the end of the day, and I dream that home. So when you find us, we have red lines that we don't cross. Train people. And this idea that politics is secular, it's not spiritual, it's not true. I'll pick that briefly on public witness. And Christian services and ministries function best in peaceful and secure. No, look at Boku. If you have a pastor at Boku, how does it feel? We can do our ministries when we have a peaceful environment. So don't think that I don't care. You care. You must care. When we have violence, it affects ministry. And some of the affected people are church members. And let's protect the credibility, the niche of the church. The church must be respected. People, we must not joke with our credibility, our integrity. And that's why we must get on board. But as we get on board, protect the credibility of the church. Now, as I conclude, and this is where I will want to give this book. We can discuss, I hear also preach this morning about Christian advocacy. There's something we call Christian public witness. You see, you read a Bible, especially Acts 10:38, where it says Jesus went about doing good. Ministry can be done in the cathedral and outside the cathedral. You can give the books out. When you do what we are doing, we call it Christian public witness. How do we bring faith perspectives into the public arena? It's a ministry. And if you are ESR director, big brother, this is a calling. See it as a ministry. It's not like post. It's a calling to bring faith perspectives into the public domain. And you see it, and because you have, let me read a portion, those who already have it, page 10. Quickly read with me. And advocacy, this one, paying attention to Christian advocacy. I'm reading the first paragraph of page 10. Advocacy is pleading the cause of another, siding with, vindicating, pleading, and making recommendations on behalf of others. And being ESR director, you have been properly positioned to be there for others. But the being is so vulnerable. So you stand in the gap. And we are saying that the next line, advocacy is giving, it can be done privately or public support to a person. You can do advocacy for a person, an idea, peace is an idea, an institution, election, a course of action, voter registration is ongoing, accident on our road. Yesterday or day before, 22 people died on the Kintampo road. Likely some of them is maybe church members. A cause, accident on our road. A belief, of course. You can also do advocacy for prayer, holiness, giving, and soul winning and all that. I just want to read at least that chapter, and you get what I'm saying. So in conclusion, let me leave you with this. Jeremiah 29, verse 7. This is Bible. And at this stage, Israel have become exile refugees in Babylon. And the Lord in Jeremiah 29 gave a prophecy, but gave instruction. Seek the peace and prosperity of the city Babylon, to which I have carried you into exile. If you are in exile, you want to curse your people. That should be your language. You don't seek the peace and prosperity of your enemies. You understand? But Jehovah instructed God's people that the city where you find yourself, despite the pain, despite the harm, all that you are going through, you seek the peace and prosperity. Why? Because it is in its peace that you have your peace. Now, even here, we're talking about enemies. Ghana is our Ghana. This is where you must derive your passion from. That even in Babylon, God said they should seek the peace and prosperity of enemy state. And I'm a Ghanaian. And the Lord says that close to election, that is the essence of the peace project. Peace and prosperity. Why? Because if we have a peaceful nation, my children can go to school, I will not be worried. My wife can go to market, I will not be worried. My mother can go to farm, I will not be worried. Seek the peace and prosperity. And the last one is Ezekiel 22 verse 30. And I pray and hope if you've never preached this sermon, go home and preach it for the first time. Ezekiel 22 is one of the most painful verses in Bible. I pray that this verse will never be said about any Christian, any pastor, any church, anywhere. This time, God, this one is God. The first one is still God. I look for someone among them, among believers. At this stage, there were seers, prophets in Israel. There were people in the temple. But God, Jehovah God said, I look for someone among them. All the Presbyterian, YPG, Youth Men's Fellowship, to build a wall and stand before me in the gap on behalf of the land so that they will not be destroyed. I will not destroy them. And God said, I find no one. I asked myself, what's the essence of ministers' conference? If all our ministers, God will come and cannot get one to stand in the gap. What's the essence of ministers' spouses? What's the essence of, Papa, sorry, but what's the essence of our presbytery chairpersons? If God cannot find one. Man. The story must be that anytime God is searching for somebody among us to stand in the gap, God will find at least those of us attending this year's workshop. God richly bless you.
Question 1.
Yeah, thank you, convener. I want to thank God for the life of our speaker, Dr. Opuni. Each time I listen to you, I see the gift that God has given to you to, as it were, build a wall and also build a bridge. The other day when I listened to you in PCC, when we were having all ministers' conference, and the way you were able to carry the entire conference, I see that gift in you, and I pray that you continue with that. Now, peace, for all we know, is a valuable commodity, very expensive. But whether you have peace or not, it depends on what transpired in the past that you carry up to the present. So if you should have just election and have people dying, 8 people dying, it means that something transpired in the past and we're not able to contain it well. That have resulted in what we are experiencing. And you also help us to understand that we should be able to bring faith perspective into the public arena or public domain. And when you were ending, you call our attention to what God told Ezekiel about looking for a single person who stand in the gap. Now, let me find out from you, sir, your take on the red lines that we need not cross as we advocate. I say this in the view of what transpired some time ago when our leaders were trying, the Christian leaders were trying to call the attention of the political leadership at the time. And they were being chided and, as you were, ridiculed.
Next question.
Yes, thank you.
Please be brief with your questions.
Thank you, Chair. And I think I also add my voice to, I call him Professor Opuni Frimpong. The way he articulates his thoughts on some of the issues. But my concern has been that our church, the perception in the country is that the Presbyterian Church is the mother of a political party. It's something which is worrying to me especially, because whenever you stand somewhere to say something on political issues, you are targeted that, oh, the basket for the party in war. With this, how can we move away or erode this perception?
Thank you, Papa. But I want to find out, per the research that you have on African leaders and looking at their attitude towards constitutions. One is about elections. They manage to get their constitutions, changed so that they will have longer periods to serve. I don't know what is wrong with African leaders. That's number one. Probably you can give an answer. Number two, about do you foresee this thing in Ghana in the near future? I want to ask because I don't know. Probably because Ghana is part of Africa, it's also possible that a time may come we'll have this. And the last one, Papa, sorry. The last workshop we had in Accra, Professor Kwesi made a point, and I still remember that point, that it appears that the church seems to be the last resort for the nation when it comes to advocacy issues, peace, and the rest. We also had a preparatory workshop on peace and security, and the lawyer that spoke to us made the same point, that it appears that the church seems to be the last resort when it comes to finding solution to some of those issues. Papa, what is your take on that? Do you also agree?
Thank you. Papa, as part of spiritual violence, you made mention of implication, Diabo. Yes. Does implication work in politics? Does it work? Because you see the people who are being, whether they are casting the insinuation or whatsoever on, they will be working freely and they will still be doing the wrong things. Does it really work? Thank you.
I will ask Reverend Kantanka and Odame to do a research at Antwerp and come and answer your question whether Diabo works. But why here? You wait. Even if you don't think that those things work, there are people who want to tell you, go to Antwerp. The river Antwerp is not big, a small river. But they will tell you don't cross it. You are a man of faith. You don't believe anything. But the people there, they know that it worked. But let's leave it there. But why do we have numerous accidents during elections? Have you asked yourself? Party people will go to rally camp, accident. Think about that. But whether Diabo works or not, Papa Kantanka and Odame, they are Kumasi people, they know we are not their job, whether those things work or not. So they will come later. But the niche of the church, this whole, whether what you are here, and we work with Professor Nin and others. Look, let me tell you, this is my own example. 2016, I was the General Secretary, Christian Council. We finished the election, and the morning that they were going to announce results, I will let certain bit hang. I was called by high-profile security people in this country that run around all media houses in this country before the declaration of results. So I had special arrangement, moving from one TV station to another. And as soon as I reach, they stop everything for me to address there's need for peace. We need to get, our nation together. If this year is not your year, another year. And I move on. And from IGP, and some of our meetings were funny. I've had high-profile security meetings, some Trinity Theological Seminary, the chapel there. When you come and we are meeting, you think we are praying, but we are not praying. They are briefing us. And when they tell you that we reach a point and the only hope is the church, and that is why that niche and credibility, we should not joke. So 2016, me, the kind of work I know, I was tasked to do. Some Presbyterians often. Almost all the main media houses in Accra, I touched everyone. And some people were monitoring my movement. And it was arranged. So this kind of thing, that's why I say see it as a ministry. It's not like post be now, but the vacancy be now. It's not just filling a vacancy. They need somebody to be ESR presbytery director, and they say, "Are you quiet?" It's not. It's a calling. Even if the chairperson who pick you, so an old friend, and see it as a ministry, because we reach a point and we become instruments of God. We are that tools in the hands of God to save a situation. Please, this I have done this in Angola. I have done it in DR Congo. And I'm telling you, and recently we're in Liberia. We become the only hope. So that one there, bright, is true. Then you are asking questions, but let's protect the niche. Now that's the problem. Microphone be omo ba nanu ya. Omo ntiase. Omo kase boom 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 boom. Omo higher and they are all prophet and a man of God, prophet, one prophet. Some are even deputy God. Now, a brother asked question, dictatorship of majority, what is wrong with African leaders? And you're asking if it can happen here. It doesn't happen one day. It's a process. So if you have a party in government controlling and ours, we call it winner takes all. IES set up a committee to run around the whole country researching on winner takes all. Justice Emishaw was our chairman. I was a member. Now the way it works, you have president in Ghana who appoint IGP, chief of defense staff, everybody. And they all want to pay allegiance to him. And so if you have a party in government, and the president want the IGP to do something, they call what they call order from above. You arrest somebody and they say order from above. Jan, so normally you see party in power, when their people misbehave, they can arrest them. We haven't seen that. If you are a minority, but those in power, where and that is dictatorship of majority, even if it's not on the larger scale like you find in the countries that are listed, it's there. And we must be worried. What is wrong with African leaders? I don't know. But one day you become president and see what will happen yesterday. The president is coming on horses. Fine. Even churches, there are church leaders. One time so years ni biaka. Church create me manipulate. Then also for Abronoma, this notion, and you are the ESR people, PCG will be 200 years in 6-7 years to come. You know that. Our colors have always been what Papa Ernest is wearing. NPP is 30-something years. NPP Beto Presby Church. Now you see blue, red, white. Papa, your flag. Take any Presby thing. And yet MPP for the color. So our churches have always been decorated with red, blue, white, with green. Why? It may be coincidence. Any occasion, people enter, they see our colors, and it's like they are in MPP environment. I don't know the crime. Also for a crime. That's our colors. But even now, the green, we project it. But some people still don't want to agree with us. There's nothing this one. PCG cannot change our colors to suit MPP. Papa, I mean, when I finish, come and tell us your experience. Yes. So, Papa, NPP, whatever thing people talk about, it is true that David Date was Christian Council General Secretary. And you know, David Date was a Presbyterian. He and Palmer Bako and the others stood up against Rawlings, and they campaigned against till finally, even when Ghana Bar Association pulled out from the Constituency Assembly, David Date and other GBK Usu, they were all, and they were threats. At the point, close your ears. Mama Bako, they wanted to kill him. They sent somebody who arrested the wrong person, kill him and dump the person at Choco. So all those, including David Dante, then General Secretary, Christian Council. GPCC chairman was Bakuna Okwansana. He's now in wheelchair. And to me, they wanted to kill him. So those who were fighting, then PNDCP, whatever, were people who were close to the mainline churches. So it's like they became, out of PNDC, NDC emerged. These are the issues. But I will still come back to the point that PCG, we have our colors before MPP. Also for that, you have suffered that before.
Yes. If those at the head office, you with Mr. Ohinekwafu, the Director of Administration and Human Resource Management, when I was a member of GAC, it was one of the things I always want to draw his attention when we go to GA and decorations. There have been a few occasions, quickly they have to add the green. You know, when we add the green, I don't know anyone would have a problem with us associating it with the party. The green forms a significant part. That's the, yes. So that is the trick for me. So I always buttress that point. Wherever I go, that add the green, you know, or if you like, don't mix the three together. If red and white is here, if you don't have the green, assuming you have only the three, don't put the three together. Blue and white is here, white and red is here, so that it makes a little difference. Other than that, they wouldn't understand.
Asafo, this is free consultancy. You dash him your lunch, but this is how we can. But still, we should not feel intimidated about this. Even though it is true out there, especially if NDC is in power and they are coming to Presby Church, and you don't do it, they leave that, and that's what we MPP for. So let's be mindful of what he has told us. But it's a challenge for us. Now, the last one that our brother, the red lines, the challenges. Now, MPP is in power. So all our advocacy will go to them. And now NDC people are happy. If you say anything about MPP now, they are happy. NPP people think you are NDC. And NDC people think because you are saying what they want to hear, now you are NDC. I have suffered that. Let's have a change of government. I'm just thinking aloud. And you have the other, the table stand. When NDC was in power and we were addressing national issues, I think MPP people thought I was MPP. They were happy with me. When the table stand, you address, and they are in governance. So their issues must be addressed. Then somebody meet you, and they say they work with NDC. So that means I'm MPP. To me, it's a ministry. We are there now. Una also near nam go paso or no no before. One nam go paso into 17. But when I say those things, I don't say because I'm MPP or NDC. Me, you be. I don't do the bidding of any. Professor Mate has suffered this. He was then the moderator, PCG spokesperson, and then chairman Christian Council spokesperson. Now he's a pensioner. Onye moderator, onye Christian Council. Now you hear every day, where is Professor Mate? He said those things because he was moderator. So now we suffer that. The very same thing you say that they will clap for you today, tomorrow you say the same, and the very people will come and attack you. Also, for Diabo, does it work or it doesn't work?
Diabo doesn't work. It works at the same time. So you have to be flexible. If you don't offend the person, it will hit you. So it works and it doesn't work. I don't want to be. So don't offend anybody. You offend the person, it works. If you don't offend the person, it's waste. It won't work.
Papa, you talked about how ministers can play the middle role without being too partisan and being political. We are all political. So you cited the example of that Methodist minister who was ministering and was talking about his role, and he went overboard. That middle role play is something that we need as ministers so that we can be able to address the issues and yet not be seen as with this party or with that party. For instance, your role, since you are always on whoever, whatever people may conjecture around, comes out to that, okay, he did that, he was fair to that, so he's playing the middle role. That middle.
Thank you, Papa. Papa, in your presentation, you told us, and it is true, that a lot of these politicians are Presbyterians or Christians. Now, what is preventing the leadership of the church and probably the minister from inviting whoever is in political leadership and having a talk for advice, widely from the assembly member? And I know there are Presbyterians who are members of parliament. When is the leadership of the church inviting them for advice, or the president, or what is preventing the ministers or the leadership of the church inviting them personally, one-on-one? And I know if the president is a Presbyterian and the moderator sends an invitation to him, he will respond. He will respond.
Here we have an online question, so.
Yes, online question. How do we strengthen our ministers effectively to deal with the issue of peace? The subject peace remains so multifaceted and a multidisciplinary in approach. Now the second question. What is the nexus between the PCG constitutional provision for ministers in response to public policy such as election, peace, LGBTQ+, and among others? Good. Any other?
Okay,
Baba,
maybe for the sake of the one online, let's do that. Now, PCG, especially, and get me right, we will want ordinary members to be free to choose any association, no, not LGBT, so don't go there. But any TUC, NATS, whatever. We want to, if our member want to join CPP, MPP, NDC, PCG want our members to be free to associate as Ghanaians. But our ministers, our agents, the rule is if you are a Presbyterian minister, and we have had that. We have one of our brothers. He was at Eburi. I think he's in US now. And others. If you are a PCG minister, and Reverend Adotesaka, for instance, and you want to be take political appointment, like say DCE, regional minister, we want to become MP, and on. The rule for PCG is that then you may take some leave. You write formally to the church and take a break. Do you understand? That is in terms of policy. So in that period, it's like you've gone out. But we don't want, there's a difference between being political and being partisan. The two are not the same. Politics is pursuit of interest. How do we pursue interest? It's everywhere. In fact, there's politics in the bedroom. There's politics with your children. Bedroom politics. Politics is how 2-3 you meet and you have interest, I have interest. How do we manage our various interests? That's politics. But partisanship is where some group of people come together to pursue a particular interest. Now that one, the church says that we want to be a unifying factor. We want to be a father figure. And therefore, for our agents, you cannot be aligned. You must be non-aligned. So that if we have a challenge, say, MPP, NDC, then we know our minister, chairperson, can bring all of them together. If you become a known, that is partisanship, that you are color A or B, then our credibility is indicted. The niche is gone. So if you are a paid or what we call agent, then we say remain non-aligned. Be a unifying factor. We vote, but don't go around, and that is the challenge our friend, that I voted for party, I go and ask my mother that I voted, and I ask everybody in my family to vote for. A Methodist minister shouldn't go public disclosing, and that is the red line I believe our brother crossed. We are not supposed to do that. You will vote, but if you want to remain a good Presbyterian agent, you don't go around disclosing what. You are there for everybody. Even though you have your own political interests, you remain non-partisan. So for the sake of the friend online who asked that question, that is our position. As for our members, they can be partisan, they can join any political party. But as for our ministers, they should be welcoming, they must be unifying factor. LGBT is not a part of what I have said. As a church, we feel that God created Adam and Eve. God did not create Adam and Steve. So for us, we don't understand this. And this new the conversation that they want to find a proper pronoun for God. In the Bible, Abraham is a he. Esther is a she. We talk about God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Jesus is a he. So the conversation in London is not our conversation. In fact, for us, we know who God is. At least if we go to Ghana, we know God is mother, father for us. Father, mother, Tananyumo. So this London Anglican conversation is not Ghanaian Africa conversation. For us, men are men, he. Women are women, she. The other still online question is, how do we strengthen? And that is why we are doing. If you want to find out why we are doing this workshop, and people have come all over, and we are online, we are doing capacity building on the program we call Peace Project. Getting our members ready, knowing next year is election, strengthen our advocacy ministry towards election. And this group of people is a very strategic group. I'm happy Reverend Bryce said that this is not the first of its kind. Professor Enin and others, there have been series elsewhere that this group of people and many more have been prepared. The thinking is this special group, this strategic group, after such meetings, will also go, and within the regions we call presbyteries, will also sustain this capacity building, and even into the district and into our individual congregations. And that is our approach. And PCG has been able to sustain this workshop training. Now, this is very common in our church. It's like almost there's a capacity building from evangelism. They finished. There's one for pastors, catechists, this. So if you're a Presbyterian and you take these programs as serious as possible, you'll be properly positioned to make, to me, a very good impact. Unfortunately, some of them, you invite them, they don't concentrate. Or they go back, virtually they do nothing. When you call for a report, they find their own way of giving you reports. But sometimes you read the report and report to it, dear. Because somebody told me that even meetings that have not been held, somebody has been able to write a report. So quickly, this report today, because he has done it before. He knows how to gather topics. So and so came, and so and so came, and the meeting was very good. We had lunch, breakfast, supper, and so there are people who have been around for long, and they know how to generate such, so they can give you reports, minutes, and anything, but sometimes omoboa. That is the only thing else. For me, PCG, as a Christian organization, have been very consistent in terms of giving exposure to people we work with. And that is what has kept us moving stronger and stronger over the years. And I want to believe our friends in online are being of help. I've touched on the same partisanship, and I think it should be enough for that.